Hello, everyone, and welcome to Friendly Fire Games Exploration Show. My name is Tyler, and I will be your host on this exploration on Asobo Studios' A Plague Tale Requiem, the follow-up to the 2019 smash hit, A Plague Tale: Innocence. But I'm not alone. I'm joined by my three trusty co-hosts, Chris,
I'm here.
Ryan,
Hello, hello.
and Tom. Dum, 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 dum.
The mind is willing, but the body is fleshy and weak.
Got a fleshy body.
Watch Futurama.
He's got that flesh body.
Snoo, man.
So in the last episode, we talked about everything up through the end of chapter 8, chapter 9, 8, chapter 8
Great.
of A Plague Tale Requiem, and now we're going to talk about everything up through the end of the game, and we're going to kick it off with a comment from the Great Game Debate podcast. They say the small, quiet moments in a Plague Tale games are some of the best moments in the games.
A lot of games.
Yeah. And I think it's supposed to say A Plague Tale game are some of the best moments in the game, in this outlet's humble opinion. What are some of your favorite small moments from the game in the first 8 chapters? This was a comment that we missed last week.
So really, it can just be a quiet moment from anywhere in the game at this point.
Yeah, a quiet moment from anywhere in the game.
I like the one where it's really quiet.
Yeah.
The little festival they had near the beginning half we played here, like chapter 11 or so.
Too many goddamn festivals in this game.
There's a lot of festivals.
Not enough festivals.
I like this one because it was a little more on the ground floor. It was a little smaller. Is easy, more chill than bigger festival. You're following the parade or whatever. That one stuck out when I thought of a quiet that moment.
Yeah, I like the first time you're on the boat, just talking to everybody, and seeing you go down to get the compass and all that. Probably my favorite quiet moment.
Yeah,
I don't remember. Sure, let's go with the boat. There's water.
Mine is actually from the last 9. There is a moment where you can come across an olive tree with Hugo and Amicia and I think Sophia, and they talk about the olive tree and like its longevity and stuff like that. And it's just a really cool little interaction between Amicia and Hugo. It's always these moments where Amicia is kind of like teaching Hugo something that he's really not even going to learn. You know what I mean? But
Life lessons for the next week.
For the afterlife, afterlife lessons. Spoiler. If you haven't played the end of the game and you're still listening.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, shit, we just
Maybe
broke it in the first 5 minutes.
If we didn't make it clear enough at the beginning, we are spoiling the whole damn game.
We also missed a comment from Beaten Down Brian last week. It says, I really like that the events of the first game have obviously taken their toll on Amicia. It's not something that we dig into enough in games, which I think it just means post-traumatic stress and stuff like that.
Yeah.
On top of this, it's nice to see our actions during combat encounter have direct repercussions through unique dialogue from the people around us, which I think is actually the opposite of a lot of comments that we got last week, or the last recording, which people were like, I don't like how it feels like it's going against what the game wants me to do,
It's really just Lucas.
Yeah, where it seems like, your combat and stuff, people are like, hey, you should probably not be such a fucking maniac and kill everybody.
Yeah, which obviously, like, the first tool bench that I come across in this one, I get where you can pull your crossbow bolts out of people's bodies, and literally that just breaks the fucking game.
That's funny that you say that. I really wish about that as well.
I really wish they didn't put that in there. Like, I know it's a tool you can use, but after that, it's like, who fucking cares? Like, they obviously push all of these, like, murder arenas on you for the game that you have to do. Like, you have to kill all these people, so at what point you're just like, well, fuck it. I'm just going to murder everybody.
Yeah,
I think that really just about that. Went away from the first game.
If I can find it.
Broke it.
Yeah, Steven commented in the Discord, great story, looks pretty good, although if you stare at individual rats, they are pretty hilarious, which is very true. I did that a couple of times.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, the full-on Monet, like, out
Yeah.
It looks good, but you get close to it and it's like,
Oh yeah, it's
the fuck is going on here?
it's like it's a rat in all
Yeah,
intents
it's
and
got little
purposes.
beady eyes and there's a fur, but that's
Yeah.
about it.
It looks like a cucumber with a couple of little bits of detail. Gameplay is still this series' weak point, and a lot of new additions didn't have that much gameplay impact, except for the crossbow level 3, which made most encounters cake. It's amazing that the crew never thinks to use a lantern, which is very funny, like the enemy does, that they could place on the ground and pick it back up. Also, did anyone do the bonus windmill puzzle for the secret item? I haven't looked it up yet, but I'm curious if anyone did it. Did you guys get the secret item from the windmill?
Yeah, it's stupid.
It's
It's
a
a bracer.
bracer. Yeah, it's a bracer.
I think you recover life faster from being injured.
Yes.
You really don't recover it that much faster.
Yeah, I think there's an upgrade, like one of those passive upgrades that does that too, and I would barely notice the difference. Maybe both of them combined, you'll notice a difference, but
Yeah, I noticed it. I think I did because there were a couple times where I had two people come up to me and I get hit back to back and I'd be able to survive still.
I just murdered everybody with the crossbow. Wasn't even sneaking at this point. It's just fucking. I'm just running around with the crossbow, murdering everybody.
Yeah, by the end, that crossbow is definitely OP, but I'm actually kind of glad for it because if not, those encounters at the end, some of them would have been absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot
I
of
didn't-
bullshit human encounters in this.
I didn't upgrade the crossbow once. I had no problem with the last game. Barely.
Really?
used
You
it.
didn't
either.
like that fight in the
It saved
square?
me probably
That
like an
wasn't
hour
a
and a
problem?
half.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. Is like it saves time because like that fight in the square when you're with Arno, there's a lot of fucking dudes.
Yeah,
coming
I
through
know.
there.
I recorded for it. It didn't take me that long. No chapter was longer than an hour.
What?
Well, you didn't find the bracer though. So.
Oh.
Yeah, chapter 9. We'll get into it, but chapter 9 took me for fucking ever with all the exploring I did. We also have a comment from Meko Rekka Wes. What is the biggest single improvement that you think could have elevated Plague Tale Requiem the most? Also, where do you want to see the series go next, assuming you want it to continue?
I don't know if I wanted to continue.
What is the biggest single improvement?
That was made or needs to be made.
That you think could have elevated it the most?
The way you say that it
Sorry.
seems like it's something that wasn't in the game. That
Yeah, I think that's what he's saying. What is this
yeah, what would have
single
made the game
improvement that would have elevated the game? What would have made it better?
I don't know.
Okay.
Not having the
Good
crossbow,
answer. Good answer.
Not having it would have made it better?
unless more of the human rat ones, like the first one, less human encounters. They just peppered fucking areas with people this time. Like they literally wanted you to just murder.
Yeah, taking out literally every instance where it's like just fight a bunch of guys in this box. That
I
would
didn't
make it
understand
better.
that. Yeah,
I don't like those.
Yeah.
the kill arenas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
remove per game. I do want to
think-
see
I
it
think
continue.
puzzle
though.
variety would have made it better. No, there wasn't enough variety from the beginning to the end.
Were there just
Seemed
fewer
like-
puzzles? I think the first game
It
was a
felt
little more
that way,
puzzle
maybe.
focused,
Because they
and the
added
second game was a little more
more
combat.
companion. Like I don't know if they wanted it to be more of a puzzle. Like use this companion to do this. Like I did like the added like the companion uses. Like so if you had the prism or not, you could just send to like murder people.
Yeah.
Somebody else, right? There's someone else in there. Lucas, you
not-
could have cry like a little bitch in the corner. Why are you murdering these people?
Preston also left us a comment, which I think would be fun to talk about.
Wait, do you guys want to see it go on? I know Tom said no, but
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I fucking love this game. The ending is amazing. And
So, yeah, you want to go into the ending, like the after credit ending?
no,
part?
no, no. We'll get there. But yeah,
Well, I mean,
wanted-
that has to do with it going on. Like,
Yeah.
I can't answer that
Yeah.
question without.
we can
spoiling
talk
it.
about it.
yeah. Then I mean, obviously, it's going to continue, right? I mean,
but not with
there's-
Amicia.
I think it is going to continue with Amicia.
It's like, isn't there a fucking heart monitor in the background? Is she fucking alive 400
She-
years in the future?
Was there a heart monitor? Is that what it was?
It's
think
like
so.
a respirator and shit.
I couldn't tell. All I saw was I saw the baby and the fucking Mecula, and that was it. I didn't, because to me, the way I saw it is that she said she was going to go try to find the next carrier and the next protector.
Right.
and help them. And then it cuts
Yeah.
to credits, and then I assumed that carrier was being born. I didn't assume that it was like in the
Oh,
future.
I swore to God I heard machinery. So I was like, oh,
They
we're
also
going fucking Assassin's Creed and the fucking
Maybe so.
Inferno and whatever.
yeah, and I think
Animus.
there's supposed to be like a big like year gap between carriers just lore wise, because like I don't think a carrier dies and then like it gets passed on to another carrier
Yeah,
instantly.
because there was a long period from whatever plague they said that started to the actual one where
Yeah.
Hugo had it.
Yeah,
like
I think it's 400 years. Was it?
Right. So yeah, we're gonna be. I'm all for like future one. And you're just busting fucking caps in people's asses while you're sneaking around in future bee farms.
Yeah,
and
just going
things.
around with a Glock, just fucking people up.
It's gonna happen in the hood. It's like Leprechaun 4 in the hood. with
Yeah,
ice.
Leprechaun in the hood. They're gonna kill somebody with a bong, shove it up
Plague
their ass.
Tale in the hood. It's just gonna be about fucking COVID.
But yeah, I mean, I do wonder what they do as far as like what the plague actually manifests as, because I feel like by the end of this game they have done all they can do with the rat plague. Like they do some really crazy set pieces, and we don't need another rat plague, especially if it's taking place in modern day. So it's just like I don't know how they match that with like something in modern day. You know, a drone plague. I don't know what they're gonna do.
It's not the Maculus. It's the Mechaniclius.
The Mecula.
Yeah,
And it just
Well,
turns you into a
we'll
giant
let them
robot from
decide.
MechWarrior.
I don't think we're
Figure it out.
not gonna find a
Yeah.
good name for
I
it.
mean,
here.
so I'm all for them going that direction. I don't want Amicia. I don't want to be playing as Amicia, just like scouring. Because, in all honesty, the free roam levels, I did not like them. I think it works better as the linear path, not fucking run around in this semi cobbled together area where you can find one extra thing other than parts.
I think that's
Maybe
what
a tree.
might have been the issue with that is there wasn't enough that you get from the exploration unless like you want that deeper dive into the world, because that was a lot of what it was, which is like extra lore,
Yeah,
extra
dialogue.
conversations and stuff like that. You weren't getting anything like super crazy other than like pieces. You find more pieces to get upgrades.
Yeah, it's like I appreciated running through those environments and getting more conversations with Hugo, Sophia, and Amicia. It really builds out them as characters. But when you look at a game like, oh, I don't know, God of War Ragnarok, where they are having these conversations that are really cool and interesting while you're exploring, but there's also world things to just explore and gather for your characters.
But that's a great segue into this comment from Mike, who says, "Hope this isn't too late. Curious to hear what you guys have to say about this game in the sense of a AA space that it occupies. Do you have different expectations from a game like this compared to a bigger, more elaborate AAA series that it's emulating? And how can games like this stand out in a world of Elden Ring and God of War Ragnaroks?"
I would say I
So,
only had
yeah.
expectations because of what I played in Innocent. So then who the studio is. Personally.
Well, I mean, but what do you think about this game as far as like the AA space? I mean,
I think it's, top tier double A.
Yeah, it's
It's just a good
A,
game.
A, and then another half an A.
I
Yeah,
really don't think
it's-
it is as good as the first one, though. Like I think I said last time, the first one had a better impact, and I mean, maybe it's because I've played the first one, but I had higher expectations for this one, and that's why I think a lot of these weird like letdown moments were playing. I was like, it's not really hitting the same notes that the first one kind of felt. I'm not saying it's a bad game in any means. I don't think it's as good as the first one, but that's just
Yeah, it's hard to like really call like a AA too, right? Because it's like you look at the studio and what they did with the first game, and then also the fact that like they made Microsoft Flight Simulator. And it's like it's
Yeah,
not really like there's some so studio, they got Microsoft back money at this point, and
yeah. I
it
don't think you can give
shows.
them
I
like
mean,
I don't think you can give them a pass on like, well, they're only a AA studio, so like forgive more mistakes or whatever. Like this game clearly had a massive budget compared to
Yeah.
Innocence, even, which already was not like a low budget game. I would maybe consider Innocence AA, but this just feels
and
AAA.
you could tell
And
from
it's
the
like,
set pieces too, especially near the end, where
yeah,
with some of those things
those
that
were
you're doing, where
expensive.
it's just, yeah, you're just like, holy shit, I cannot believe they're pulling this off right now, and it looks fucking amazing, and it ran super smooth, never had any real issues other than a couple of hangups on like geometry when you're trying to move around the environment. But
I had two glitches, and one was very minor. It was just like an arm in a cutscene out of place. But the other was near the end of the game when the Count's boat is like coming up on your boat and
Oh,
attacking you.
mine got fucked at that point.
I had to restart at one point because I killed every single one of his guys before he crashed into our boat, and it just hung and didn't know what to do.
Oh, see, mine was not like that. Mine was like, oh god, there's guys coming, and the little red dots appeared where they were supposed to be, but it was just fucking him sitting on the boat like this, and I'm like, there's literally nothing I could do. So I'm like, is there a difference? Because I'm not shooting anybody. If they were shooting at me, there was fucking like arrows flying by, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then all of a sudden you just crash into him. I'm like, well, I'm curious if there was a different way this plans out, but there was literally nobody on the boat besides little red dots and
yeah,
mystical
Weird.
invisible men shooting fucking arrows at me.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. And to be clear, I don't think that the game needs a pass. I think that it's a good game on its own. But it feels very much like a Naughty Dog game with not quite the level of quality that I associate with Naughty Dog, like a little step below a Naughty Dog game.
yeah. It's he asks, how can games like this stand out in a world of Elden Rings and God of War? Well, I mean, it's just word of mouth, really, right? I mean, same thing with the first one. It's like it's only going to stand out if people play it and tell people about it, because it is such a huge space, especially where games are now, where it's so overly saturated, where a game like this is easily going to fall through the cracks. It is almost impossible for this game to stand out unless people play it and talk about it, and then the writing stands out and speaks for itself, and
it does. And then you still have major gaming talk people that refuse to play the fucking game. I'm not naming any names.
Yeah, it was nominated for Game of the Year though, alongside Ragnarok and Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
but it is definitely
I
one of
don't
those
see
things
it
where
beating
it's like,
Elden Ring.
I mean, it's not going to win, I don't think.
it is one of those things where you don't see it really standing out. Like you hear people talk about it, you saw outlets give it scores and critique it, and then that's it, it's over. And
like I can't see myself playing it
every
again or seeing it have enough of an impact, like in that trope of like the amount of hours and fantastic occurrences that happened in Elden Ring. Like I feel that's shoe-in game of the year. Like I feel that is a very hard game to beat this year.
Yeah.
Granted, I've played like 6 games this year that came out this year, so not a big list, but
all right.
Well,
Well,
Stray is nominated for Game of the Year.
yeah.
And I didn't play that, but I don't.
We'll talk about that on another podcast because
yeah,
the whole Game of the Year
we
thing
can
is
talk
bullshit.
about that some of that.
But the last comment that we got was from Preston. I just want to know if it's worth it. I stopped at chapter 5. I was starting to enjoy it a bit more after giving over to the way it wants me to play, but stepped away for other games. And I'm typically really tough to go back to games once I leave them. Should I go back?
Yes,
I think so. I think the story is worth it. I think the way that this concludes is very emotional. It had me in tears. It does a very good job of wrapping it up and leaving it open for more, which I think is what you want from games nowadays, where it's like if they want to leave it, it can be left alone. But if they want to go back, they can. And I think that's a really hard thing for a lot of studios to pull off nowadays, where it's like they almost always leave it open for a sequel. But it's like it's one of those things where the story is not finished and they have to come back, where like this, they don't have to, they don't want to.
Yeah, we'll tell you how it goes right now. But like mechanically, this isn't a hard game. Like it's not like, hey, I was playing halfway through fucking Spider-Man and then I stopped and now I'm gonna jump back into it 2 months later and I don't remember how to do any of these combos and I'm gonna die for fucking 3 hours.
Yeah.
Like this, mechanically, it's very.
It's simple, yeah.
So you can just jump back in. Granted, you might not remember what the fuck is going on.
But if you restart it, it'll give you a synopsis of what you were doing.
It gives you a last time.
Yeah, the one thing.
Well, the last chapter.
The one thing I would say is like you might, if you are taking a long break and you come back, you might forget like what specific alchemical tools do. Like you'll probably have to waste some of your tools to experiment and remember what's what, because those are very necessary for solving puzzles.
Yeah. But you should finish it, I think.
Yeah.
I think everybody should play this game and finish it. The story is worth it, in my opinion. It's incredible.
Here's the I agree. I think the story is the best thing about the game, and the gameplay's okay. But like, do you think you would have a lesser experience watching like a YouTube
Nope.
supercut?
I
of
feel
the
you could, you could just watch and it'd
No,
probably be
I
like,
don't. Not for me.
why not?
Because,
But we're
but
not talking about you.
I don't watch.
We're
I don't
talking
watch
about
things.
Preston, right?
But no, I think it was a general question for anybody. It's like, do you think you would be able to get the same impression watching it? And I don't think so.
I do think that especially that final moment would be a little less impactful if I wasn't the one holding the controller doing the act, if I was watching it happen.
Correct, because I did not do it at first, and there was a very cool
I did it
moment.
immediately because I'm like,
Oh.
yeah, complete the fucking game. Who the fuck
I
cares?
started and stopped the wind up like 3 times.
Yeah, and
Before
then
I finally committed.
what it does when you do that, I was like, this game gets it. This game gets this moment, and
I murdered that little fucking plague bearing asshole.
Damn it, Tom.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ.
I'd
did
like
it
to
to
apologize
himself.
to Beaten Down Brian personally
Yeah.
for all statements we make on this episode.
All right, well, let's jump into it then, shall we? We'll start with chapter 9, which was Tales and Revelations. And as we all remember very clearly, we went to sleep at the Count's house. That was the last thing that we did.
Oh,
We took
yeah.
a little nighty, grabbed our blankie, grabbed our sippy, took a little nappy. So we wake up the next morning, we got new outfits, baby. New haircuts. Let's go. She's got a new little hairstyle going. She's got it braided up to the top now, a little bit shorter. Yeah, they got new outfits from the Count. I don't know how they just magically found clothes their size, but they did. Good for them. And then you leave. I have a thing here. Woman comments about flowers for the Count. And then she says, they're fresh as a young child. And I was like, that's a weird fucking comment for this random woman to say as you're walking through the grounds of their. Is there a castle? Would you call that castle?
Yeah.
Keep?
But I
What do you call
mean,
it?
I've watched Game of Thrones. They do things to little children, so that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a
When
lot
you're
of
marrying
weird comments.
women
going on.
off or girls off at 9, to lords. Yeah.
So this chapter is the big exploration chapter, right? So the way that I have it laid out
guess
is
2 big exploration chapters. It's the same area, but you
Yeah.
come back to the same area again.
yeah.
Yeah, I just ran straight to mission on 10. I said, fuck that. After 9, I was like, I don't like this.
Yep. So Sophia meets you outside of the Count's house. You're supposed to follow these phoenix statues, but you can do all kinds of explorations. And this is one of the things that I actually fucking do not like is I'm sitting here trying to explore. They give you this big area, and it's like, we should follow the birds. We should follow the birds. We should follow the birds. Shut the fuck up, Hugo. Let me just fucking go look for stuff. How about that? Just shut the fuck up. I do not like it when games are like, hey, remember this? Remember we got to do this?
Listen.
Remember we got to, yeah. It's like, don't do that to me. I'm a grown ass adult man. You don't have to do that. I know what I'm
You're
doing.
a teenage girl in this, so
I don't
Gotta
don't
make
get
sure
why
you're
every-
annoyed by your little brother. How a normal teenage girl would be to her.
I was fucking annoyed.
Don't we all remember when we were little teenage girls? Annoyed by our siblings?
I do. I don't know why every game doesn't just have that on a button. Like push a button, get a hint for where you're supposed to be doing, where you're supposed to be going. Like it doesn't need to be ambient. Just let me push a button when I want to hear them tell me what to do.
Yep. Looking at you, Horizon. You're the worst at it. Did you guys climb up the tower and have Hugo pretend to be a bird?
No.
I don't think.
There's a little moment there that you can do. Amicia and Sophia, they talk about how nice the soldiers here are, and Sophia makes a comment about how she feels bad about all the time she's been a dick to them, and Amicia realizes how many that she's killed. And then Sophia's like, do you feel bad about it? She goes, nah. This is also the area that you can find the olive tree. It's down by the creek. There's the fertility site where all the fucking people are just like about to start that weird fertility ritual or whatever. That was weird.
Orgy, yeah.
Yep. There's
I don't care who. Somebody put a baby in me.
There's 4 windmills that you can do a puzzle with, where you have to like start 2, then stop 2, and it opens up a section where you can find a hidden cave underneath the island, basically, that has a bracer.
Yeah.
And you can recover from enemy attacks faster.
Yeah. I didn't end up doing the whole puzzle, but like I figured out how to get into every lighthouse. I just didn't. I thought it was like, oh, I got in there and I got parts, and I guess I can turn these on and off. I don't know what that's for. Whatever.
Yeah. There was a diagram on the door of the cave, I believe, that tells you. Um, I have a comment here. Culty ass tree. The little culty ass tree that they had that had all the ribbons and stuff in it, or the fertility site.
When you read notes you made 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, this is sorry.
They really like the Indianapolis Colts and how bad they are.
No, culty, not like a horse, but as in like, you know, who's that? Jerry
a
Jones.
horse?
Who's the guy that drank the coffee, or not the coffee? The fucking
Kool-Aid?
Kool-Aid? Yeah, Jim Jones. Jim Jones. There we go. I said Jerry Jones. Isn't he the fucking owner of the Dallas Cowboys?
Yes.
I don't know.
Remember in a Plague Tale when you bought the Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah, so
And
remember
Ezekiel
how
Elliott came out with his like midriff showing.
we followed the
to
bird
save Hugo?
statues to a set of ruins in the middle of a big open area. And then you got to set the grass on fire to see the mural underneath. And guess what? It's a map of the island. Wow.
Holy shit.
And you find out that your next destination is the mountains in the distance, which anybody could have fucking guessed when you looked to the mountains and you saw that there was a big ass fucking building built into the side of it. I was like, we're definitely going there. The path is blocked by goats, so you have to take an alternate route. Can't read. Also, Hugo is afraid of goats, apparently, which I don't know if he did the little.
Yeah, the one that
Thing-
screamed at him earlier. Now he's scared.
Yeah, he's.
I didn't do it, and he's still scared like a little bitch. So
But I do love how that happened, where it's like, oh, he's afraid of him because they were bleeding at him, and now he doesn't want to go near him.
well, it makes less sense when you didn't do it, and he's scared because they're bleeding at him, and you're like, well, that never fucking happened.
Well, you should have played the game.
Psycho.
Did you find? So you found the missing goat, and
Yeah.
then he becomes.
And then you
friends
make
with
him fucking pet it, and then he just
right.
stands there like a fucking idiot with his weird double circled eyes looking at you like he wants to rape you.
The goat or Hugo?
Dealer's choice.
Okay.
Interesting.
So then
It's probably a mod on PC. It's like hot coffee for Grand Theft Auto.
I'll look into it.
I bet you will.
I hear some fan fiction coming.
right. Then Sophia helps you burn down grass with this fucking thing. I don't even remember what it was. I don't
Prism.
remember. The prism, is that what it was? So you start.
Well, you don't
burning
burn
that
it down.
so
You make
can-
it smoke a little.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, for the stealth section.
Yeah.
Which I was not happy that I couldn't use Hugo's rat vision for this entire
Yeah,
chapter.
Yeah.
There's no
super-
rats.
I know why, but I still like having detective vision.
Oh, it's stupid though. It's like when you get to the end of the game, there were rats there.
There's a lot of fucking rats. and
It's
they're
like-
not in that
there's-
mountain, I guess.
Yeah, there's a shit ton of rats. You shimmy along a ledge, and you guys almost fall to your death. The Count and the Countess are doing a fucking ceremony at the mountains, so you guys have to dress up in these like weird culty ass disguises and sneak in, which I thought was super cool.
Yeah.
And then this is where you find out that the Count and the Countess are not good people at all.
I mean,
They-
I feel like that was a known thing going into.
Yeah,
this
but it's
chapter,
so much
like,
worse
These
than,
people
like-
aren't good.
Not
So
to
much worse than like you really think, because they worship the macula, and they think that the
No, it's
child.
worse when you find out what, like, the fucking he was just lying to her for fucking years. He just made it all up.
That's true. He's a bad person. He's not a
Yeah.
good person.
She's just fucking like batshit crazy.
Oh, what's even weirder about that is like he made it all up, but he was like pretty right about a lot of it. You know what I mean?
I mean,
far as, like-
he understood a lot of things that he then misconstrued intentionally to create this religion.
He's not a good guy.
Yeah, no, he created a cult to win a girl.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
Sounds
And
like
then
my
tried
prom
to
night.
kidnap someone else's kids when
The cult of get tired and go to bed on Tyler's prom night.
Right.
Good. It's a good cult.
That's a good cult.
Then you find out about the previous holder of the Mecula and the Protector, who is Basilius and Ayla. So you do some investigation of like the Mountain Temple to find out more about them, and You find out about the Order of the Phoenix, which I was like, okay, I guess we're in fucking Harry Potter all of a sudden. You know, we got the Order of the Phoenix. All
I mean,
these
we already had
alchemists.
Dumbledore fighting
Yep.
him in the beginning, so
You start going through the tunnels, getting out of the place, and like there's all kinds of like fucking dead goat carcasses, horse carcasses, like all over the place and shit. And you're like walking through underneath, trying to escape because people are starting to come through, and that's pretty gross.
Yeah, so this section, like where you see the two, the Lord and the Mistress, they come in and like I don't know, they're bathing or whatever the hell. They're probably fucking, I don't know. But you're trying to sneak around them, and she's like, "Okay, that water canal back there, that's how we're gonna sneak through." Like that would be so fucking loud. You're freaking stepping in this water, and it's gonna splash and make noise. Like it's gonna be way noisier than just walking on the concrete, crouched like you always do.
Yeah. And we should also say that like this is the area that in Hugo's dream where he saw the tree in the water that was supposed to be this area, and it turns out the water was like fucking stagnant and fucking
he's sitting
gross
there
and
drinking it.
disgusting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not
he's trying to
healing
like
me.
wash his face in this dirty water.
That's not working. I don't understand. Well,
Yeah.
now you got chlamydia.
Yeah.
That's why we had to kill him, so he wouldn't spread STDs.
Yep. That's it.
That's the
That
end of
was
the
the-
game.
We'll stop there. He had
Yeah,
syphilis.
thanks,
He had to go.
everybody for watching.
But this area is
Hugo
cool
died
because
of
like
dysentery.
because of this, like it really starts to set like a cool like speed of like what's going to happen where they're like trying to investigate the old protector and the carrier and stuff. And I thought that was really interesting. I like that stuff a lot to figure out like what happened before to lead up to these events.
Find out that Amicia is much more of a pussy than Ilya was.
Why are you being such a downer on this fucking game? This was a
As you're
good
going
game.
through, man, she just murdered the fuck out of people, and you're like, I got a sling, and she's got like fucking swords and axes and just murdering
It was a
everybody.
different time. She was raised
It's
to
a
be the
different
protector. Amicia found out after the fact, just by happenstance of what was happening in her life. This other Ayla bitch, she was bound to be. You know, she was trained for it. She was raised to be. So shut the fuck up. You're being rude to my girl Amicia. Not appreciate it.
Yeah, maybe we can get into it more as we're working through here, but I kind of lost the thread at a certain point of why Amicia thought that they were gonna like find a solution by following Aelia and Basilius's trail. Like, I mean, even at the point where you found Basilius like locked underground where he died, she's still like, we have to go back to that map because they left us a clue underneath the map or whatever. It's like,
I think it's because she kind of alludes to the fact later on that she was grasping at straws at that point.
Yeah.
And that she didn't know what else to do, and she was just trying to give Hugo hope that he wasn't going to end up turning into what Basilius turned into, and that she wasn't going to leave him and let people take him the way that Basilius was taken.
I mean, like, what happens at the end of the game?
yeah, but I also if I'm being honest, I don't think that's really like true. I think she is doing it for her because she can't stand the idea of losing Hugo.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Hugo, like,
I think it's a little bit of
very early in the
50-50.
game, he's like, my life doesn't matter, Amicia. I'm killing people left and right, and Amicia still is insisting on it.
I think it's a little 50-50 just for the fact that she wants to give him the hope, not just for her, but for him to hopefully slow down the progression. Because when he starts to realize that it's happening, it gets worse and worse and worse, and he gets out of control faster. And she's trying to be like, oh, well, maybe it'll slow down, so he will think it and it's like stop himself from fucking losing control.
I think it has to do with Amicia. Like, she's done a lot of things, fucking herself up, fucking other people up, all to try and keep Hugo safe. And if in the end none of it really matters, then what did she do any of it for?
Yeah,
She's just trying to justify her murderous intentions.
Yeah.
It was for the good of man. Fuck you. He was coming right at me. He had a sword. You see that?
But
Pull
once you get through the
crossbow bolt out.
sewers, you
Got
start to
eyeball
go.
on it.
What are you saying?
Pull the crossbow ball out, and it's got eyeball on it.
That never happens.
Right there. That one.
So you're going to an old fort to find the original protector, where she was apparently imprisoned. I don't ever remember that being a clue anywhere at any point in time. So I don't know how she got that as a clue during when you're in that little like area in the mountains. I don't know
Yeah,
where
it's
she
like
got
as
that.
soon as you come back from the mountains, they say we need to go back to the map, and then at the map they like I guess they see the fort and they say we have to go there next.
I
Yeah, no,
guess.
like that's what I'm saying is I lost the thread here of the Aelia Basilia stuff and like what clues they were following to get where they were going. But I understand why she was following that trail to because it's the only thing she could do really. But I don't know, the trail just didn't really make sense to me, which is why also something we'll get into more later, like the idea that Amicia is going to try to leave a trail to help the next carrier and protector. It's like the trail they left you sucked. It didn't help.
Yeah,
What trail are
nothing
you
helped.
gonna leave? What are you gonna do?
The island will be consumed by rats. There will be no breadcrumbs left.
Yeah. Hopefully she just left a note. You kill him.
Etched in stone.
Finish it.
Just murder.
Yeah.
Him. There's no saving him.
So now we're into chapter 10, which is called Bloodline. Trying to find the round tower? Question mark. That's what we're doing.
It's the tower that's round.
Which was back
by the
on the
windmill.
basically the opposite side of where we are coming out of from the mountains, and now the festival's going on, the fertility festival, and they're doing it. They're
Ain't nobody
getting
humping
on.
around.
Yeah, there's
Bobby
just
Brown comes in.
fornication
fucking-
everywhere. Sophia tells Amicia she's chasing ghosts that scare him, and Amicia says that she's chasing ghosts that scare Hugo, and Amicia says that they have nothing else to go on. So yeah, that was the comment.
Yeah, that's a really good line. She just says you're chasing ghosts that scare Hugo, and she just still keeps insisting because this is like more than any other part in the game where Hugo starts to be like, "Wait, we shouldn't be doing any of this. We
Yeah.
shouldn't be going here. We shouldn't be going there.
Yeah.
Just bad things keep happening from all this."
Yeah, he's very aware of what's going on, especially when he gets to the water and he realizes like that water is not going to heal him, because that was his goal, right?
Yeah, that was the end point for him.
For him, yeah, that was him, and now it's Amicia going forward. So now we're heading to the fort, and this area was fucking gorgeous looking. Like when you're coming through the mountains and it's got all the flowers and like the water's out to sea and the sun is setting. It's very cool looking. You get to shoot the grappling hook with the crossbow. And
Also, yeah, how the fuck does she fire that with that? That thing's got to be like 8 pounds.
Video games.
Like you see her put it on there, it's as big as the crossbow, but and she's like, ah!
Yeah. But this was the part of the game that like was really confusing to me, is like the slavers, I guess.
Yeah.
That were coming up, that they were, I guess, taking people for the Countess to make them work for her. And I thought they were going to be like a bigger deal, but like you come up and there's like random ass people like chained to rocks and shit. And like you see all the slavers. Go ahead.
They were taking people. I think they were originally taking people for the Countess, and they were allowed to stay there because the Countess wanted people. But at this point, they are taking people to like offer as
sacrifices
like
to the Mecula.
sacrifices.
Yeah. It's blood trail for the rats.
And like the slavers are like super evil, and like they're burning people alive. And one of the slavers is like, maybe we shouldn't do this. And the big dude just like fucks him up super hard and like cracks his head open. It's not good stuff. Then you're doing a lot more stuff with like the ropes, where like at one point you take your crossbow and like you pull it on a chandelier, pull it back to crack open doors. I guess it's a new puzzle mechanic, but yeah.
There's one section. It's pretty early on in the section in this chapter where you're like, there's a door that is blocked by ropes, and there's like 2 different spots you can go to fire your rope arrow and unblock it. But there's like a stupid amount of enemies here, and this was the first part where like I tried to stealth this, but it seemed virtually impossible, and eventually I just killed everybody.
When you're like making your way to the bridge,
when you got to get up on top, I thought. And then there's like walking around, and then there's like 2 archers up there, and then there's the guard that also jumps up and walks across. And it's like, okay, well, you're all fucking dead now.
Yep. Hugo wanted to save the people with the rats and ended up killing them. Amicia and Hugo get into it about killing people.
How much fun it is.
Do we remember that? Does anybody remember
Make it
that?
a game.
Great.
Yeah. Amicia basically is trying to protect Hugo's innocence, saying
Yeah.
it should be her call when people need to die, which shouldn't be her call either. But
Yeah.
she's already got blood on her hands.
And this is the first time that Sophia sees Hugo control the rats, and she ain't about that shit
No,
at
she's
all.
like,
She
what the fuck?
was not cool with it at all.
That part where
Which
she
is
walks away and she's like, I don't want to, you don't talk to me. I didn't even see that Hugo was fucking standing over there. So I'm like,
Yeah.
well, what the fuck am I supposed to do? I can't open this door. I'm like walking around. Finally, I just come back and I saw him like in the corner, like huddled. I was
In the corner taking a shit.
like,
Just
yeah.
like little kid. You know what I'm talking about? Little kids do, where they like just huddle. So you're making your way to the chapel in the fort, and as you're going, you're just killing all kinds of slavers on the way. And Sophia finally repays her debt to Amicia because Amicia gets attacked by somebody, and then Sophia kind of kills them in the exact same way that Amicia killed somebody earlier.
Did you guys think in this section that Sophia was dying? Because I super thought that the jackass here was gonna kill her either when they went into the like tower where what's the name, Alia was
Yeah.
her last in prison, or on their way out, which she does get attacked, but no, she never dies.
I wasn't
which
sure
is good.
here,
She's,
but
like my favorite character. So.
No, it was later on when I thought she was gonna die. On the boat. I
Taken
thought she was gonna die on the boat. Okay. Waves of rats crash the walls, and Milo, who was the big bad slaver, we hadn't mentioned his name yet, he runs off to the chapel like a little bitch. So then you start to use the prism again with Sophia, and she channels the light from the fires into a prism to create like a safe haven area that you guys can walk through the rats, which was like a cool way to get through environments. You didn't need it though. You could do this thing without that prism. There's a lot of areas in here where you don't need the prism at all. And then this is where you find out that people are being sacrificed for the child, because of course they are. And Alia was locked away in the chapel by the order of the Phoenix to keep her away from Basilius, because she found out that they were going to lock Basilius up, and she like rebelled against the order and tried to fight them all and kill them. And then go ahead.
And then they like they lift up a stone and find like a symbol of the map. I guess it's like the same symbol as they saw on the map.
Yeah.
And again, this is where I just lose the thread. It's like, okay, that means it's underneath the map, I guess, because they had to lift a stone here, and there was a symbol under it.
Context.
Yep. I don't know. I was just going along with it at this point.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you don't have a choice but to go along.
I was
with it.
just
There's nowhere
trying to
else
beat the
go.
game, man. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I didn't understand it. I didn't at all.
Yeah, I did not follow the thread of the puzzles that she was solving in her head to figure out where she needed to go next.
And then I have here, Sophia killed the shit out of Milo for Amicia. I'll be honest, I don't remember her killing him.
Me neither.
I remember.
Must have happened. You wrote it down.
I remember right after it because there's like a big fight arena, and Hugo gets pissed off and he just wants to help, and he makes like the rats erupt all over the place, and like you can tell he's getting like more and more affected by the macula because he's like starting to get angry about it. But that's where you see him start to do his rat explosion shit, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So I did not have the crossbow last upgrade yet. I want to say this is like the last big fight arena where I didn't have that. And I'm curious for you, Ryan, never having gotten that. So helmeted enemies, you can blind them obviously, and you can set them on fire if you have like tar to throw on the ground or whatever. But like,
you can set them on
if you
fire
don't
with
have
the
anything-
alchemy upgrade too. There's
yeah, that's true. I never bought it.
I got that one.
Never
Yeah.
got those, but so it's just like if you do not have a tar, basically if you don't have a pot so that you can throw tar on the ground, and you don't have those alchemical upgrades, which maybe you did, Ryan, I don't know. There's just like no way to kill helmeted enemies, it seems like, because I would blind them or like throw fire at them so that they're distracted or whatever, and then try to run up on them, but it wouldn't let me swing my sling at them. It just said you have no knives, so fuck off.
I did not have that alchemical upgrade. There were just always pots in those arenas. crap load of pots to fuck. And I'd pull my crossbow out there, but I never, outside of those kill box arenas, never use my, maybe, I don't know, handful of times.
Well, yeah, the kill arenas are the only place where you really need the crossbow, which having that upgrade makes it much easier because you literally just need the crossbow and running around a lot.
Yeah, but even then, like, without that upgrade, there were still 8 bolts just laying around all over the place. Job for me. The only
I never got the
time
final upgrade either, so
the only time I had to like kite an enemy for any amount of time was like the last 2 guys in the boss fight with the had to circle the big guys for a minute to the point where I could get both. That was the only one that was like, I'm a little out of sorts right now. I didn't have a problem throughout the game.
all right. Once we get through this big fight arena, we make it to chapter 11, which is the Cradle of Centuries.
Yeah, but at the very end of chapter 10, I really like the scene with Sophia, Hugo, and Amicia on the boat, and Sophia's just like basically laying it out like, you guys are fucking kids, you need to chill the fuck out.
Yeah, you're rowing back to shore, and you can see that like the rats have like fully infested the island at this point too, which is pretty crazy. So right here, you're like making your way down, and like I don't know if you guys had a problem here, but there was like a rope pulley section where you had to like pull the cart with the rope, but then like
Run with
throw
it.
like episanguis or some bullshit to get the rats to go against it, and then like pull this fucking cart out. I could not figure this fucking puzzle out forever.
When you make it back out to the sex tree area,
Yes.
oh, you just got to pull that cart and fucking run with it.
I couldn't get that fucking cart, but there's like a point where you have to like pull it and get it unstuck or some bullshit.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. There's like there's a little plank of wood in front of it that has
Yes.
rope on it that you need to pull out of the way, and the thing to pull with the rope is out in the middle of the raft.
Yes. Yes.
But you can just face towards the fire in the cart and use what's her name, Sophia's prism thing, and then back away.
Yeah.
I just shot a firebolt at the wood and then it just burned.
Yeah,
and
you can use the
rats went away.
firebolt. You can use tar and fire, pot with fire.
Don't drink and play games then. Anyways, so you finally make it
but
back to the.
I actually have something written down here though.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it. Is it fuck Amicia? Fuck Hugo? What is it?
It's you're coming to this area and there's survivors, and Hugo goes, "Oh, survivors, we'll help you," and then they're immediately eaten by rats.
Hugo tried to help. He
Yeah,
told this little rat
my
friends to
rats
help
will come
him.
to help you, and they just eat them alive.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
shit! I'm sorry.
Yeah, they get fucked up. And like this is really the turning point of the game, right? Where like at this point going forward, it's nonstop darkness happening. It's nothing good.
Yeah, you could consider it like a brief moment of hope when you meet your mom and Lucas again, and you guys are like, "Let's go move into the
That's
mountains."
the briefest of hopes.
It's like 30 seconds before the
Yeah.
count is like, "I need to see you."
I'm going to drink your blood now.
So that you make it back to the map area that you burned the grass on before, and you use a giant statue or some bullshit to break it, and oh, there's a tunnel underground. Look at that. But then, as you keep going, there's a crazy fucking underground temple, and this shit is cool as hell. I loved it. I love this part. And then this is where you get the copper tanks with the Greek fire inside of them, which was super fun to do. Where like they had all these pots all over the place, so you could start blowing shit up. It was great. Loved it. There's
The path forward.
There is a flame cart rope pulley puzzle in the giant opening. That was pretty cool. Yeah, it was very cool. And you make your way across, and like this space is so cool looking. I love how it's like this giant walkway, and you just see the fucking rat's nest everywhere, all at the bottom. It's just really, really cool. So you're making your way across into the room, and there's all kinds of dead bodies all over the place. And you find Ayla's dead body amongst all of them. How she knew that it was her, I still don't know that. But
her helmet had what the fuck? It said something on it. I don't remember what it said because it was like 2 weeks ago. But it said something because she reads it and she's like, "Oh, that's
Yeah.
her,"
Um,
a saying of the protector lady.
yeah. And then there was another big puzzle with like the door where you had to take the card and or have Hugo on one side, Sophia on the other, and stop shit and get the door to
Oh, I
open.
remember what it said.
What is it?
First to the key. Never mind.
This guy's got to go.
Come on, Ready Player One. What the fuck?
This guy's got to go.
Uncultured swines.
I've read the book. Hugo,
Dead air.
shut up. once you open the door, Hugo really doesn't want to be down there anymore, but Amicia is like kind of forcing him to. And she's kind of like, I wrote down, she's kind of acting like her mom and Vodan at this point, where she's just like, you're going to do what the fuck I say because I'm trying to help you. And it's not good. So Amicia falls down the nest area. I talked about this section earlier. This is where the walkway is. And Amicia falls down into the nest, and you have to like make your way around and break the counterweights to drop pieces of the walkway so Sophia and Hugo can keep going across. And you finally make it back to Hugo, and he's like super worried and like thankful that you guys are back together. And then you make your way down. As you make your way across the walkway, you finally get to like this giant spiral staircase. And it is just crazy infestation, like looking like the upside down, shit all up in the air. You're just slowly going. And Hugo is like really freaking the fuck out at this point. He's like, I don't feel right. Something doesn't feel good. And you're like, you should get the fuck out of there, kid. Like, this is not going to be good for you.
You were walking in your basement and there was like 8-foot tall, pus filled sacks of rats inside. Would you
Yeah,
be
and like
excited?
this fucking gross dust shit just everywhere, you know? It was not good. And you make your way to the bottom, and what do you find? None other than Basilius's lifeless corpse fucking chained like a Greek god. And like all this shit is just fucking coming out from the like center point of his body. And like he was the epicenter of like this giant nest that you're now standing in.
Very
And
H.R. Geiger or whatever, aliens. Like,
yeah, and you look at it and like you look at Hugo, and it's just one of these things where it's like, it's gonna be you, kid. This is you. This is your fate.
chain you up right next to him.
Yeah. And then let's see.
Yeah, the whole way down, it's quite apparent that you will be going back this way because there are many doors which you cannot do anything with. And I'm like, well, I'm definitely going to be running back this way.
Yeah.
Guess
and
what?
The rats start to come. Hardcore. They're all exploding out of these fucking sacks. Like these I don't understand the rat sacks at all. Yeah, it's but those are weird. And they're
It's the
exploding.
semen.
And like it's just filling up like usually in games you're running from like rising water. Instead you're running from like a wave of like rising rats and just like going up the staircase and going through all kinds of corridors and underneath all kinds of shit, making your way out, and you're running back across that giant like bridge,
'Cause it
and the
falls
rats are
apart,
like
yeah.
behind you, and it's super fucking cool looking. I love the set piece. It's really cool. And you get out, and Amici tells Hugo that they have to stick together and trust in each other, so he won't die. And that was the end of chapter 11.
I guess that didn't really pan out for him, did it?
No, not at all. These next ones are going to go pretty quick.
Yeah. I don't remember when this happened in 12, but I have a fantastic line that I wrote
Well,
down.
Let's get to it. Maybe it'll come to you. Chapter 12.
Well, I have it written down. I just don't know when it happened.
The life we desire.
Deserve.
What?
The life we deserve.
Sure. The life we deserve.
You can desire it, deserve it as well. Probably not ever going to coincide with each other. But
No. If you did any exploring in chapter 9 or 10, there was a guy that you can find that's near a tent, and right where you come out here, you find that same guy, but he's dead now. He was eaten by rats. And your mom and Lucas show up apparently out of nowhere. In the
Well,
middle
a
of this.
guard comes and tells you that your mom and Lucas are here,
Yeah.
and you need to come.
Yeah, but it's fucking random. I mean, still, it's still random. And right in the middle of all this shit, they show up. So Sophia heads to the harbor to prepare the boat while Hugo and Amicia go to see their mom. And then, like, you get to see like the difference between the Count's castle at this point, and the difference between chapter 9 and chapter 12 is like crazy because like the rats have infested the island, and like people are all fucked up and being bit, and like they're all like basically preparing for war at this point. There's like blockades up everywhere, and people are they're like, get the fire, we need this, we need that. It's like all hands on deck. It's like absolutely insane.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
part when you're going through, they're like, "Oh, he's a little kid. He shouldn't look at here." When you're going through like the makeshift infirmary, and I was looking around, I'm like, "This isn't even that bad. Like that guy still has all his limbs.
Yeah.
There's just people like rolling on the ground. Oh no, no!" But it's like there's no physical appearance of them missing appendages. Or...
Yep.
Also, you've been fucking running around watching like people get eaten by rats from your doing anyway.
But they don't know that. They just see this kid and they're like, "Ah, get this kid out of here." But and you know, it's like I've made people look a lot worse than this.
You're like,
You know,
funny. You should say he shouldn't look. He's the one that did this to all of them.
correct.
Yeah, which also it is. I like the moment of walking through here and like knowing that Hugo knows that he did all this. He's obviously fucked up over it. He already was after what was it, chapter 5 or 6 or whatever, after he destroyed that whole fucking city.
Yeah,
And now he's doing it again, which he was very clear he did not want that to happen again.
Yeah.
Like his life was not important enough for this to happen again.
So Amicia believes that as long as Hugo is calm and comfortable and has her, that he will be able to control the Mecula. And her mom seems to agree now, apparently. Now that they've
Let's
talked
move
it
to
out,
the
they all agree.
mountains.
But then a guard comes and says that the Count wants to see Amicia. And the Count immediately becomes a huge dick and attacks Amicia and fucks her shoulder all up and tells her Emily wants Hugo because they think he's the child of light and he made it all up for her anyways because he's a real piece of shit. It's like, okay, sir, you're a crazy piece of shit. And
Yeah,
this
this was
part
an
is
interesting
yeah,
chase, like cat and mouse thing, which
Boss
really
fight
wasn't
here,
that. Even when you got to the wheel at the end, you really only had to lock him in that room once to get the wheel
Yeah.
all the way open. It was very like,
Yep.
I mean, it was fine.
Yep. But I mean, you attack him and run away, and it's just that's what it is, right? Just cat and mouse for forever. But then your mom and Hugo, they're captured at this point. Like when you go to the Count, they get captured, and then like there's this big
Well, he's just
fight.
sleeping.
Who, Hugo?
Hugo,
Yeah, they just have the mom,
Uh,
because you wake up as him after this little part, which I remember where it came in because when you're fighting the Count,
Yeah.
he yells at her, "Who do you think you are?" And I wrote, "I am Iron Man."
she should have said that.
Well, she does say "I am," and then I just put in Iron Man.
Yeah, that comment earlier about what would have improved this game, being Iron Man would have improved this game.
Being Iron Man.
Being Iron, I mean, that's where the next one's going.
So there's a big fight in with the Count, like in a circle in front of everybody, where like he makes you pick up a sword, even though your arm's all fucked up, and you guys have like a sword duel or whatever.
Yeah, but it's just like a push button prompt. Like it's not
Yeah.
even a
It's not a
like,
gameplay thing, no.
it's not even
No,
a quick
but it is
time
cool
like
though.
action thing. It's just like you have like a minute to press the fucking button. So I actually was curious. I'm like, if you don't press it to pick the sword up, does he just murder you? Because he doesn't have a sword. It's laying on
I
the
would
ground.
though. Probably take the sword from you and stab you with it or something. But the Count fucks you up real bad. Like takes a sword, like slices both of your legs, and it
Yeah,
hits you in the head. And your mom stops him from killing you by appealing to the motherly side of Emily, supposedly. And it's like, "That's my daughter. Please don't kill her." Blah blah blah.
yeah.
And then, go ahead.
I love their before what you're about to
Yeah.
say. I love they're like building up that moment. Like Amicia is gonna have somehow a big comeback. Like it seems like a very classic tropey hero thing where she's suddenly gonna somehow win. And she like screams, "I'm Amicia Daroon and I bow to no one," and then charges at him and just gets her fucking ass beat again.
Yeah, that's the I am Iron Man part.
So her mom appeals to Emily so the Count doesn't kill her. But then Emily slits your mom's fucking throat right in front of you.
Gives her a smile from ear to ear.
It's like, okay. And Amicia freaks out and it fades to black. And you wake up as Hugo. And Hugo has no idea what's going on. So you use Hugo to control the rats, and you fuck everyone up.
Well, you
It's like
get
come
you
out-
get out there. Yeah, you get out to
Yeah,
the
you-
scene.
you
You
come up the
pee the bed
stairs.
and wake up, and he's like, "Oh my god, I just shit all over. I better find somebody to clean this up."
Yep. You come up the stairs and you see what's happening. He just absolutely goes
Mommy.
crazy. And then he kills Emily as he should.
Well,
and,
you gotta fend off quite a decent amount of guards.
yeah,
with
I said that. He
weird-
fucks everyone up. I said that. He
Well,
fucks them.
that's misleading because there's actually a different kind of attack prompt for this. But yes, fine, he fucks everybody.
Yeah, it's a lot like I think it was in the throne room in the first game, that scene where people keep charging in, and I think it's
Yeah.
the first time you ever control rats as Hugo.
Yeah,
But you're still fucking people up.
yeah, but it's a different like mechanic.
Yes, you do a different mechanic. This isn't
But
where he
it's
does
just
like,
another murder arena. But
Is this where he does the eruption?
yeah,
where
you
he
hit
makes
it
them
in the
explode?
ground and it goes underneath them and they pop up
Yeah.
and eat the people.
Yeah, they come there. I mean, and this is a long wave too. It's
Yeah,
like
there's
they
a
last
lot
for
of them.
while. But then you finally you kill Emily, thank God, and the Count freaks
Which
the
is
fuck
funny
out.
because I went to take a picture as you're sending the ones at her. And so there's the picture of her going like this, getting swallowed, but then standing next to her is also herself just standing there like this. Like, should I take the picture of that? I'm like, this really isn't going to help. So then I just didn't take a picture because I had both of them there. But I thought it'd be cool with a picture of her getting swallowed by the rats. But the game ruined
So-
itself.
The Count says he'll get you, you dirty dogs. I'll get you, kids.
Would have gotten away with it too. It was one for your meddling kids.
And the ground kind of breaks apart, and you fall through a hole trying to protect Hugo as like boulders and everything are just kind of collapsing on top of you. And Lucas, Misi, and Hugo are all together down in this big fucking hole in the middle of this arena.
Like the
after
Allison
it's all
chains.
broken apart. And that's the end of chapter 12.
13 must not have been exciting because I literally have nothing written down. I don't even have the title written down.
Nothing left is
Nothing left.
chapter 13, right?
Yep.
I don't know. I just told you I don't have it written down.
So you wake up, right? You're still in the,
Grab
still
a
in the
brush
hole.
and put on a little makeup.
Yep. When I
Hugo is
wake
basically
up,
catatonic at this point.
that is what I
like,
have.
Completely unresponsive.
Yep. Lucas helps Amicia relocate her shoulder, which was nice. And this was the part that was like really fucking annoying to me. You start walking, like she's kind of got a limp or whatever, but like the Count like really fucked you up, right? Like with the sword, and like really cut the fuck out of the back of your
Cut
legs,
you.
and she's like walking pretty fine.
Yeah,
like,
and then there
I
was
don't
a line,
understand
like in chapter 12, right after she breaks her arm or whatever, and she didn't break
Dislocates
it,
her
obviously.
shoulder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she
Dislocates her
dislocates her
shoulder. Yeah,
shoulder.
she's like, he really fucked up my shoulder. It'll never be the same again.
Yeah.
And you're
Well,
like,
she
oh,
probably
you're never
doesn't
gonna
know what-
swing again.
She doesn't remember what a dislocate or would know what a dislocated shoulder would be. So
Yeah, but then Hugo's just like, I gotcha.
I mean, Lucas.
Lucas.
Whatever. Who'd I
He's the
say?
alchemist.
Hugo
Hugo.
doesn't give a shit about Amicia right now. He doesn't give a shit
Yeah.
about anything.
Well, there's
He's
another
fucking
part later
Damien
where
right now.
she's still walking is when Arnold gives you the fucking battlefield elixir, which is
Yeah.
probably just fucking like acid. She just starts tripping balls.
Crystal meth.
Okay.
It's just-
The end of the game didn't actually happen. That's just her fucking tripping.
Yeah, the only
Uh,
line I have from Hugo in this chapter is "It will kill the sun." He's
Oh yeah, when the
Yep, I also have that.
macula goes poof. The sun eater.
Yep.
No,
Did you guys do the part you like? So there's a bunch of little puzzles here as you're trying to make your way through here, and there's a part where you can kind of go off with Amicia. It's supposed to be like a souvenir area, and she has like this moment where she breaks down onto her knees and just like has this moment where she's like, "Oh, what the fuck am I gonna do?"
Yeah.
Yeah. She goes
Yeah.
by in that like little room or whatever.
Yeah, it's a very cool moment. Then Hugo says it will kill the sun. He also says, "I'm home," and that's when like you come out, and it's just like crazy fucking infestation everywhere, and this area was rad looking, just super fucking cool.
Rat City.
Yeah,
Rat City.
Yeah, and I think this is the first time that the like rat sacks are actually a mechanic where if you get near them, they will
There's
release
a
rats, so you
poof,
kind of have to
yeah.
walk
Yep.
around them.
And there's the stink floating.
that's
That
right.
puts out their fires.
Amicia wants to kill the Count, and Lucas says that they need to leave this fucking island stat.
He's like, Lucas, stop being a bitch, and pushes him into a pile of rats.
And then I have a comment, what the fuck is this giant sack of rats?
But
That's
touch
what it is.
Find out.
The Macula is taking control of Hugo. You run away from another swarm of rats and out into the open. Tremors are fucking up the whole island at this point, and like it's super displaced. It doesn't even look the same. It's completely fucking destroyed.
No, yeah, because you're going back to that like one area of the town, and now there's
Yeah.
like a fucking bay there where there's
Yep.
not a cliff going
where,
to
like,
the water before.
It looks like part of it is like fallen into the ocean. Hugo is like now able to control like all the rats, and you make your way through the area with a bunch of soldiers. And combat has become much easier because, like Chris said, sack of rats has become a mechanic at this point, and you can hit the sack of rats and like make them pop out onto soldiers and fuck them up. And then you have the crossbow on top of that, and then you have like I upgraded the alchemy for the bombs or whatever, so I could set people on fire. And just running through people at this point, it's super easy. So then apparently you hear that there's still, even though all this shit's going on, they're still gonna hang Arno for some fucking reason, even though everything's gone to shit. And then Hugo is like, I want to save him.
Well,
Like,
it's your fault for putting him there, so yeah.
Yep. And so they're like, yeah, we'll go save him, even though everything's completely fucking destroyed.
And you do, you save him.
Yep. So you reach Arno, and he's at the executioner stage in the square, and the town's completely fucking ruined and destroyed, and everything's on fire. And then there's a huge fight in the square, just like we've had a bunch of huge fights. It's a wave-based fight again.
Murder arena.
And Hugo once again uses his powers, and you free Arno. And Hugo found his shield at some point, apparently.
Yeah. Apparently they brought it with him to be executed. Like, who the fuck does that?
I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So reading this back, there's a lot of points where I'm like, I don't understand what's happening here. And then so everybody decides to leave, and you reach the boat where Sophie is, and Amicia tells Hugo she loved you the way you are, the way she made you. We will live and we will heal. And I was like, oh, that's sweet. What a nice thing to say.
But it won't happen.
Also, I forgot to say during this chapter, Amicia keeps trying to talk to Hugo, and he won't talk to her. He's like catatonic, or whatever. But Lucas makes a breakthrough with him at some point, and so he does come back around.
He had a very naughty drawing that he made on some paper, and Hugo was very aroused by it. I'm gonna talk again.
You like that? Just dead air. Just dead air from that.
There was a pause for the applause from the audience.
Yeah, Ryan.
Yeah.
Applause and pose.
Yeah,
You really need to put in a like a crowd laughing, like Seinfeld style.
Yeah.
Hour 9. Got it.
Laugh track.
Hour 9.
So now we're on chapter 14, healing our wounds. And you're back on the boat, baby. You're talking to people just like chapter 7, chapter 8, chapter 8.
T-Pain comes out with Lonely Island. Starts singing I'm on a boat.
That's right. Amicia wants to take Hugo to a house in the mountains where her mom was from. And Hugo is like, I don't feel right. I feel different now. Everything's weird. Lucas tells them that he wants to stay with them forever and ever and be married and be best friends. And Arno is like, hey, thanks for saving me.
I think he was sleeping.
Yeah, you can go talk to him.
Yeah. Wake him up. He's like, you fucking assholes.
And then you go and talk to Sophia, and she sees a fucking ship, and it turns out Count's still chasing your asses. And this is when you get a little ship battle going on. And the ship gets attacked, and you're like trying to shoot the fucking thing at the ship, kill all the soldiers.
Invisible men.
That's right. And Amicia gets shot through the fucking stomach.
Also, when you were sailing, you notice how you didn't see any land, but then after he jumps overboard with you, suddenly you're on land. Like
correct. I saw that. I noticed that.
But also when in this part, after like the main fight and it's in the cutscene, Hugo just fucking runs at the Count, and the Count just fucking judo chops him.
That is
And
exactly
he
what I
just
have. I
fucking
said the
falls
count
to
judo
the
chops
ground.
him in the neck.
I was like, are you kidding me? This is it. This is where judo started.
Yeah,
Judo chop.
he judo chops him in the neck and tells him he's a god and that he won't hurt him. It's like you just judo chopped a fucking god apparently in the back of the neck. And then the count basically tells you his devious plan. He's going to use Hugo to take over the world.
Typical
Yeah.
bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that I lost his lover, he's like, I'm just gonna take over the world. Fuck it, and I'm gonna make Hugo do it because controlling Hugo has worked really well so far.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that's the end of chapter 14 really. It's super quick.
Yeah.
That chapter was maybe 20 minutes. It's very short. And you get to chapter 15, which is also very short. It's called Dying Sun. Amicia wakes up on the beach with Arno ripping the arrow out of her and giving her the tonic to the soldier's tonic to help her get through the pain. So she gets her fucking shoulders separated, gets 2 huge slashes in the backs of her legs, and gets shot through the stomach with an arrow. And she's just like, I'm good to go.
Just
Even
but
though
a
she's
scratch.
Even though she's 16.
Just a flesh wound.
Sure.
I took an arrow in the knee.
Yeah, I guess. Arrow in the gut?
Somebody
Liver?
steal your sweet roll?
Arrow. Yeah, I mean, but for real, she would have died from that, right?
Yes,
I mean,
for
Come on.
sure.
I mean, not getting up a couple hours later and fighting a count at the very least.
not just the count,
Well,
but like a
Ours was
wave
by
of
Yeah.
fucking
most of the
dudes.
count. You're
Massive
just
wave of dudes.
kind of
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
That's I think
Uh,
another one of the big gripes is there's no actual end boss battle. Like in the
I
first
don't
one.
need one. Yeah, I didn't need one.
Hugo.
I didn't need one. He's not even
Well,
human. It's like a fucking deity at that point.
Right, but like the end of the first one, that end boss battle was fucking crazy.
It was. But I
And
think
then
the
this
lead
one,
up-
it's like, you know what? You're just gonna walk and hide behind some buildings, and then you're gonna shoot your brother in the fucking face. How does that sound?
I thought the
Like a
set
good
piece
time.
was cool enough to make up for it. I don't think
yeah,
every game needs
the
a
lead up
epic
is
boss
way
fight.
better. Yeah, the lead up to the end of this is way better than the boss fight in 1. That's my opinion.
But yeah, this arena fucking sucks because like the first half of it is fine, but then they like put fog everywhere, and the enemies are not affected by it at all. They're still sniping the shit out of you, even though you literally can't see them.
You can see the red dot that puts over their head if they're an archer or if they're a swordsman.
That's fair.
Sure.
But still, yeah, I probably died here 2 or 3 times. It sucked.
I think I made it through this thing without dying. Pretty much the whole end. Once you get to Arno, I don't think I died again. But Amicia wants to get back to Hugo, and then you get into a big fight. The boat is completely fucking ruined. The Count shows up, and Arno wants to fight him while you cover him so you can hopefully rescue Hugo, because Arno's like, I gotta get my fucking revenge on this dude. And you fight all kinds of soldiers while Arno fights the Count. And then Hugo freaks out and destroys Marseilles in the distance, because apparently that's where you're at. You made it to Marseille. And you see that shit just get fucking obliterated. And Arno sacrifices himself to pull the Count's helmet off so Amicia can hit him in the head for the final blow, which that was pretty cool.
I don't like how it only lets you use your sling though,
Yeah, it'd have been cool if you would have been able to pick up a sword and run him through, but whatever.
or shoot him through the fucking face with a crossbow.
That too.
But it literally is like, nope. You
and
gotta
then
fucking
you pull
sling
it
a
out.
rock at his fucking eye.
And then you pull it out and the eyes on it. And then the eye pops off and it's just the Neversoft logo. And then the game
Took away his
over.
weapons, both of them.
And then Spider-Man 2 loads up.
Yeah. So Arno is sitting here bleeding to death and tells you that Hugo's
Loves
great
you.
as he dies. That was his last words. Hugo's great.
Now go kill that little bastard.
And you see in the distance, Hugo has cast the nebula, which blankets out the sun, which we haven't mentioned yet, but that was something that popped up at some point. But it was
mentioned
very.
it.
Did we? It was glossed
Yeah.
over, though. I mean,
Not
it was
what
like.
the name of it was. We didn't
Not-
say call it
yeah.
the nebula, but yes,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
but it-
essentially that was already the starting gases.
They
that would
really
go
didn't
apart.
like make a big deal out of it, though, in the
No.
game. They just kind of very subtly were like, yeah, the nebula, but he casts it, which sends this giant fucking cloud out into the sky and it blankets out the sun. And Sophia, Lucas, and Amicia meet back up and they head to Marseille to bring Hugo back. And Marseille is fucked up. People are fleeing the city. And while they head into the thick of it, and everything is just fucking crumbling around them, and
Flamethrower time.
you get on the back of this truck or cart, which you saw one at the Count's castle, where it was on the back of a cart. It's like this giant canister of Greek fire or whatever, and you get to use it. And they're using this cart and pulling it, and you're just on the back of it with the fucking fire cannon. It's amazing. And use the flame cannon on the back of the cart while riding away from a giant fucking tidal wave of rats. And like this set piece is amazing. It's so cool. It's just like as you're making your way around and through the city and trying to figure out a way that you can try to get to Hugo, and everything is absolutely being destroyed again. And it's just that will never get old to me. Just seeing the absolute devastation that this kid is able to do just from rats.
This was my last death in the game because there was one time where this giant rat horde like fell back and I let go of the trigger for a second and they just immediately over.
Yeah.
Crazy. Well, never let go of it. Got it. All right.
All right. So we are going to be on to chapter 16 because as you get your way through the tidal wave of rats, they're fucking everything up, and then rubble ends up falling on top of the cart. And that's where chapter 16 starts with King Hugo. Hugo is now the leader of all the rats. He is in some crazy ass fucking ball in the middle of Marseille, and he has become one with the Mecula at this point. The building collapses, and you all fall into a pit. And Sophia like breaks her fucking leg, so she can no longer go with you guys, and she tells you to go get him. And she says a really cool line here where she says, "Not all legends need sailors," and I thought that was pretty badass. Amicia says that she'll come back with Hugo, and then this is where you start to have to run between waves of rats, which is really cool. Amicia and Lucas jump into like the weird fog shit to go and rescue Hugo, and it becomes very otherworldly right here. Amicia starts to hallucinate in the fog and sees the Phoenix statues, and she thinks they're supposed to guide her to Hugo. And I love this shit.
Yeah, this part was
'cause
very cool. It's all
actually, you don't need to follow the statues to get to Hugo. And
No,
Hugo
you
is
can't
actually
follow the statues. You have
Yeah.
to deviate.
yeah. Because Hugo is telling you to like stop trying to do the same thing. You know, he's trying to teach you in these final moments, like to stop what you're doing and let me help you. Help me help you. And so you stop following the statues, and eventually you make it to the next wave where you see all these fucking crazy skulls, and rats are just fucking pouring out of them like crazy, and they turn into like these giant monsters. And you try to fight back, and like there is a thing of fire in the middle, and you're just sitting there whipping fire and stuff at him. And Hugo's telling you to stop fighting. You don't have to fight anymore. And like if you keep fighting, eventually they'll overtake you. You can't keep doing it. I don't know if this happened to you guys, but
No, I
yeah.
put it out. Like turned it on and put the fire out. Like after
I did
the
not.
second time. I was
I
like,
got
all right, well, fuck
overtaken.
it then. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it's supposed to happen.
Second time, the first time around, I'll go through it the second time.
Yeah, that's what I did. But it's cool because like if you don't pass it, you go back, and he goes, "No, you have to learn from your mistakes and all this shit." Basically telling you that like you're stuck inside your own head, you're stuck inside your ways, and you need to stop doing this. So you douse the flames, and Hugo shows up and walks with you and explains that he's been taken over by the Mecula, and that the only way to stop him from killing everyone is to like kill him, basically.
Yeah. But I love that they never have him directly say that. They never have Amicia directly say it. It is implied, very heavily implied, and unless you're like not paying attention, you understand it before the moment. But like they never tell you you're gonna have to just pull the trigger on Hugo.
Yeah, he says, "I don't want to kill anybody anymore. You have to stop me." And so she stops hallucinating, and Lucas shows up as you collapse to your knees in grief because like she realizes what's happening, and she understands that she has to kill Hugo. And so you and Lucas walk up to him, surrounded by like all these twisted vines, and like he looks very alien. He doesn't even look the same anymore. And you pick up your sling and you start spinning it, and I let go because I couldn't do it at first.
A couple times.
And Lucas is like, "We have to get this done." And so then eventually, you throw the sling, it hits Hugo, and then it cuts to credits. End of the game.
Cry a little bit.
Yeah,
It was fine.
it sounds so much uh less emotional, like talking about it like this, but like when you're in that moment and the music's going and like you make your way through that fucking giant wave of rats and you're going from building to building and you get into this area where Hugo's trying to like talk to you about your problems and like talk you through like your own head basically, so he's preparing you mentally, like this child, your younger brother's preparing you mentally for this huge task of like taking him out of existence, and it's huge. And the credits cut and actually starts chapter 17, which is the legacy of the Darun family. It's been a year after you kill Hugo. Amicia is now sporting a much shorter cropped haircut, looking cool as hell, living in the
Oh, that's because
fucking...
the count picked her up by her ponytail. We never talked about it, and he just cut her hair.
Yeah, but it's been a year since then.
Yeah, well, she liked it short.
But she took her braids out and everything.
She liked what
no
the
longer
count
has
did
the
for her.
ribbons. So she's living in the mountains at presumably her mother's house. They don't say that
I assume that's
specifically.
what it is, yes. Because it's
Yeah,
in the mountains.
Yeah.
I don't think she built it.
No. So Sophia shows up and they're talking, and she's talking about Lucas, and he's off studying alchemy, and Amicia is going to leave and look for the next carrier and the protector. But before she leaves with Sophia, she wants to take a moment, and she goes and climbs the mountaintop before leaving, and you visit Hugo's grave.
This is like the best vista in the game too, just the mountains in the background and shit. It's fucking gorgeous.
Yeah. And where his grave is at, it's like at the top of the mountain, and there's like all these like eagles' nests around, and like birds are flying all over the place and shit, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah,
And
she says that they weren't there before.
Yeah.
Oh, after you buried them, they all showed up.
And then it's the she puts the necklace there with him under the
I think
rock.
she takes the necklace because the necklace was there. Doesn't she take it with her?
I thought she put the necklace there under the rock.
I thought she took it with her. It was under the rock already.
Yeah.
So I thought she moves it and then she takes it and puts it back on.
Maybe. But then the final credits come. Except that at the very end of the credits, we've already talked about it, there is a tease of a baby being born with the macula. And then it cuts to black again. And that is a Plague Tale Requiem.
Good game.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
It was a good game.
Yeah.
That moment with Hugo at the end is so fucking good, though. I really think we're like not selling it enough. It's so fucking powerful.
No, I mean that's we were talking about it earlier with Preston. Should I go back and play it? The whole point for me was like you should, because just watching that cutscene versus like having the controller in your hand playing.
Yeah, it's
different impact.
Going through that whole motion of, because it really is like those wave of rats is like a wave of emotions that you're trying to sort through to fucking get down to this big moment that you have to like work through, and it's crazy, especially when I think for me it hits a little closer to home just for like people who have like been through PTSD and stuff like that, and working through like anxiety and shit like that, where having somebody who is younger than you or some like who's basically ascended to like a higher being at this point, like try to help you get through these problems so you can see things in a different way and accept reality. It was very cool. You know, it was interesting. And that's it. Are we gonna rate it? Gonna give it a ranking?
Right, we do that.
Here.
You got a score, Tom?
8.
Chris?
I'm looking. I score all my games, so I have a score. I just don't remember. 8-5.
Ryan?
8-5.
I am sitting high with a 9 over here.
I think that's
You-
out of the realm. I 8-7. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. I do think the first one's a little bit better overall as a full package game. Having not gone back and played.
I think the first one seems better because that's the first time playing it. It's the first time getting introduced to the world and stuff, and it's what made the first one so special is like I had no idea what I was getting into, right? But it was the characters, it was the story, is the way it was presented, and like I feel like this one definitely expanded upon that, and like that relationship between Hugo and Amicia was so special, and the way that they ended that I thought was really really good. So
No, it's solid.
that's
Yeah.
what puts the second one a little bit higher for me.
Yeah, I do think the second game is a better game, like technically and mechanically than the first game. But the first game was a like brand new, really different experience. So typically,
Yeah.
you know, you have your first game that is like this is brand new. It's amazing that this is a brand new experience. But then the second game adds so much to it and expands so much that it can be better. And I don't feel like this added and expanded in the way that a sequel needs to like elevate to that level of overcoming the fact that it's no longer a new concept. So yeah,
Yeah,
I like
it
the
was
first one.
just a story expansion at this point, you know.
And good story to be had.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, well that does it for us. What else we got coming up in the pipe? Anybody?
I mean, game of the year and music of the year podcast. It's not nailed down for them yet, but be on the lookout.
Yep. We will be starting our regular show at some point.
I'm soon.
Maybe. That'll
Yeah,
be
maybe at this
weekly
point
show?
we're so late in the year. Maybe we will start the regular show with those episodes, and then go
Yeah.
from there.
and then a new game exploration at some point whenever we all decide on another game that we want to play all together. So,
Yep.
And then we
gotta
still
rank
have
them all, as always.
Gotta rank them all. And Tom and I started streaming Gotham's. What was it? Fucking Gotham
Growlers
Knights?
in Gotham.
You know, I was about to call it Gotham City Imposters.
That's a fucking old ass
You
game.
should stream that game. Yeah,
That game
I
is
don't think
fucking-
you can. I looked it up. I don't think those servers are still alive for that.
That game was so good though.
Yeah.
But Tom and I started streaming Gotham Knights. It's Growlers in Gotham, getting drunk and playing as Red Hood and Robin and grinding in that fucking city. So
talking about Red Hood's failed.
Red Hood's no
masculinity and
PP, his Ken doll PP. Look forward to that too.
I heard part of that kind
All right, well, we'll see you all next time. Goodbye.
of...